My name, again, is Genevieve. My middle name is Olayinka, so I resonate with those of us from the land of Africa. Amen, the motherland, right? And I'm just here to talk to us a little bit about mental health, and mental health specifically in our community, mental health in the church, and hopefully help us to challenge some myths about mental illness as well as therapy in general. So I'm a registered psychotherapist in the city, and I believe in counseling. I believe in clinical counseling, and I believe that it is effective for managing and helping us to do better in our lives. Okay. I did want to say just one quick announcement. Tomorrow is our first ever Black Mental Health Day. So I want you guys to go online, check that out, and let's celebrate and let's bring about more awareness for Black mental health in Toronto. That's my little plug there for Black Mental Health Day. So my hope is to leave here with having you sort of more aware and equipped and motivated to attend to or pay more attention to your mental health. And so the reality is most of us have learned to sort of turn to the church as well as faith in God as an answer to or as a response to mental health issues or to mental illness, and to cope with sort of our hard stuff in life. And the church has definitely been historically one of the epicenters of the Black community, and sort of we've experienced a sense of relief and comfort and peace and joy that comes from this environment. And what we want to focus on today is the trend to sort of I guess overshadow mental health with spirituality. And so we don't want to disregard or disrepair the very fundamental strength and power that the church has for responding to difficult life stuff, but we sort of want to provide a collaborative effort and expand our perspectives for how we handle mental health stuff in our families and in our community, okay? So one of the fundamental reasons is simply a lack of understanding. So I want to break down a few things today, primarily the difference between mental health and mental illness. So we'll go through a couple of these things that are on the screen. So mental health is literally our physiological, our psychological, and our emotional state of well-being. That's what it is, okay? It's how we feel about ourselves. It's the quality of our relationships. It's usually when our level of health is at a place where we're satisfied and we're resilient, we're able to handle our life challenges, we're able to make sound decisions, we're able to have fruitful relationships. And, it gets to the point where when we think, I just can't do this anymore, or I'm just always tired, I'm always exhausted, I'm drained, I'm just so over this, or we feel like nobody cares about me, nobody's there for me, nobody understands. That's when we feel stuck. And those are indications that maybe our mental health is not where we want it to be, and we need to pay attention. And what are we paying attention to, right? So many things affect our mental health, our life experiences, our family members, our environments. Number of events can affect the way we think and act. And for many of us, our social location is important, okay? So for us, as we think about the social determinants of mental health, we've listed a whole bunch of things here on the screen. We look at poverty, we look at immigration, we look at racism, we look at systemic oppression, we look at the denial of access to equitable treatment. All of those things, including lack of access to education and to jobs, can affect our ability to take care of ourselves and to see ourselves in a positive light. Okay, so that affects our mental health. And studies show that we actually experience psychological distress 15 times more than those who are not adversely affected by all of these phenomena that are listed. Okay, we're looking at taking care of our basic needs. We're looking at making sure that we have shelter, we have food, and making sure that we have enough money sort of to live, right? So we don't feel secure, and that takes a toll on our mental health. And this kind of makes sense, right? Quite often our parents were primarily concerned with our immediate needs. Are you fed? Do you have your clothes are on? Did you do your laundry? Your clothes are clean? Do you smell good when you go out to the street? Like, that's sort of a thing, right? And, we in the church are usually primarily concerned with spiritual health. Are you praying? Are you reading your Bible? Are you, the question, how's your relationship with God, sort of surrounds itself around your church attendance. Are you coming to Bible study? Are you attending prayer meeting? Right? And so we're sort of concerned with these two areas, but we've left out, sort of the middle part here where we're looking at when people are hurting on the inside, when we're broken in places and in spaces that we cannot see, right? When people are upset or they're down, what do we do, right? A lot of us, for our kids, child is crying, stop the crying. We do stuff like, it's going to be okay, don't worry about it, right? Not really attending to the reasons why they're crying, right? And so we want to sort of take away the idea that we only need to take care of our physical basic needs and the church only needs to take care of our spiritual needs. Is this like over anybody's head here? Are we sort of with us? Yeah? Sort of? Okay. So does anybody know what like emotional health is? Nod for me. Are we here? Sort of? No? Not really? So, okay, how much were you taught about emotional health then, say at home? Little, lot? I'm getting like blank stares. Nothing. Whoa, nothing. Ooh, 0. Okay, so we're at 0 here today. And so where did your main ideas about emotions and dealing with them kind of come from if they weren't, taught in the home? I had an answer. Where did they come from? Where did you guys learn about school? Some of us, yeah? Any answers? Where did you guys learn about how to take care of your emotions? Church. Some of us said family, some of us said church. Okay, so emotional health is a component of mental health, and it's our ability to experience and manage appropriately and to express the full range of our emotions, okay? And if we're willing to be honest here today, if we are, most of us aren't doing the greatest with our emotional states, right? Some of us yelled at people who cut us off on the way to church this morning on the road. Yeah, right? I did. Confession is good for the soul. Some of us aren't doing so great. Some of us barely made it out of bed. Some of us cussed off the kids for spilling the milk. Like, our emotions are sort of all over the place. They're a little bit volatile. We're not completely in control of them. Okay? And this is part of emotional health, emotional intelligence, and our mental health state, right? And we see the effects. We see the effects of our eroded emotional health in our relationships, right? We have difficulty making friends. Sometimes we have difficulty maintaining friendships. Sometimes we can't ask for what we need. We hold things in. We bottle things up. We're afraid to express. Then we explode when one tiny thing happens, right? We're sort of like in this strange cycle of behavior and thinking, right? We pretend that things are okay. We smile when things really hurt. When we're talking about really hard things, we laugh, right? These are sort of just signs and indications that our emotional health and it's just not where it could be, right? These are things to pay attention to. And sometimes we're in denial, we blame others, we fly off the handle, right? We become uncomfortable. And we see this also in our physical health. When we're tired and we're drained and we can't get up and we're overweight, we're addicted to blank. We don't know, fill in the blanks. Addicted to shopping, addicted to pornography, addicted to drugs, addicted to alcohol, right? We see the evidences that we're not taking care of our emotional and mental health in our behaviors, in our actions, in our physical states, right? And, some of us, we think, we have, in the Black community, we have high cholesterol or high blood pressure or we have the sugar, or we're looking at all of these physical symptoms of other issues that are contributing. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're paying attention to all those things. And I always say your mental health is showing. Like, I can see your mental health by the way that you respond, by the way you act, the way you talk, the way I can see it on you. And we can't ignore it, right? It's in our church, and we can't pray it away. We can't just be like, oh yeah, whatever, everything's going to be okay. No, we have to attend to it, pay attention to it, and address it. Okay, so again, mental health is what we can enjoy and work on improving every day. It's like we take care of our bodies. We take vitamin C to take care of colds, or like everybody went out and bought masks when they heard about coronavirus. That's like taking care of your physical health. But we can get masks to take care of our emotional health and our mental health. Okay, so that's mental health. Now, mental illness is something different. Okay, so we're going to make the distinction now between taking care of our mental health and then addressing mental illness. Mental illness is about disorder. It's about dis-ease. Okay, it affects our mood, it affects our thought, it affects our behavior, but it's determined through assessment and diagnoses. So professionals will let you know if there is a mental illness that you need to take care of. This is different from your mental health that you take care of on a regular basis. Do we get that? Yes. Okay. So mental illness does not discriminate. Okay? The contributing factors range from biology to genetics to trauma to history. Right? Brahim talked about growing up and in an environment where there was war and so on. Like, that is a part of the historical traumatic things that can contribute to development of a mental illness. Okay? So when we think about that, Mateo is going to come and he's going to talk a little bit more about some common signs that are evaluated using the DSM, which is our Diagnostic Statistical Manual. And it includes things that we can pay attention to now. So changes in like sleep habits, changes in our eating habits, changes in our thought patterns. Are we suicidal? Are we homicidal? Are we having like these strange delusions? Are we hearing voices? Like, what's happening up here and down here and in our bodies? What's changing that is preventing us from behaving and functioning in the ways that we did before? Okay, so these are signs that we can look for. Okay, so there's a definite difference, but we want to make sure that I want to make sure that you get the link. If we don't take care of our mental health, then it will lead and can quite frequently lead to mental illness. Okay, but there is a difference. Okay, just like if we don't take care of our physical bodies, it can lead to sickness, illness, and sometimes, guess what? We get sick anyway. And that's just the reality of the matter. So mental illness is serious, but it's not a death sentence, right? People do recover, and people can cope and live very meaningful lives with mental illness as well. There's a slide on there. I don't know how to get to it. Maybe, yes, there we go. So we asked 100 Black Canadians to tell us their thoughts about mental illness. Top answers are on the board. So we came up with things like, well, mental illness can't happen to me. It can't affect me because I don't have any history of mental illness in my family. We came up with things like, kids can't have mental illness. Only adults can have mental illness. We came up with things like, if I pray hard enough, then mental illness will not be a part of my life. Mental illness makes people dangerous. These are thoughts about mental illness. Okay, so I want to debunk some myths here, because these aren't true. They're actually not true. Everybody is affected and can be affected by mental illness. In fact, there's a slide there. It says 1 in 5, 1 out of 5. Does anybody know what that is? 1 in 5. I'm sure we've heard the statistic a lot of times. Bell Let's Talk throws it out every single week. 1 in 5. Yeah. 1 in 5 Canadians will have a mental illness or experience some sort of addiction issue within their lifetime or within any given 12-month period. So that is across the board. We're looking at all cultures, all income levels, all education levels, all faith backgrounds. Okay? It's 1 in 5.
I'm gonna pause here. If you count, so Mr. Wameki, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
He's gonna say that in a second. All right, so that's 1 in 5. Can we go? Yeah. And then, okay, yeah. So that's 1 in 5 of us, and it's actually within our community. The number increases due to our systemic oppression, lack of awareness, fear, stigma, so on. Next slide. So we have all these extras that we have to be concerned with when we're looking at the statistic as it pertains to our community. Okay? How many of us in here are 40 or over 40 or nearing 40 or 40-ish? Yeah? We don't give our ages here. We don't give our ages here. So the men do. The men give their ages. So talking to the men. How many men in here are around 40-ish? In their third, okay, nearing a generation. All right. So we have another statistic that says 1 in 2. 1 in 2. Can anybody guess what that statistic is? Guess? No. Okay. So 1 in 2. The story gets better, guys. Okay. The story gets, by the time Canadians reach 40 years of age, 1 in 2 have currently at that age or will have had a mental illness. So look at the person next to you and ask them, is it going to be you or me? Now, some of you started rebuking me in Jesus' name right there. I know. Right? Some of you guys said, fire. Yeah, fire the Holy Ghost. I heard you guys. I got you. But that is our common response. And this is what we want to address today. Okay? This is where we are at. The reality is these numbers are very, very real. They affect us. We are included in these numbers. Okay? So I want us to get that into our heads. All jokes aside, right? It's time that we start looking at ways to take care of ourselves. And black folks, it's honestly, it's even better for us. 65% of us believe that mental illness is a sign of weakness. That's more than half of us believe that if someone has a mental illness, it's a sign of personal weakness. This is a dangerous conceptualization of illness, sickness, and disease. And the response then is, be stronger. Just get stronger. I'm sick. Just be stronger. Okay? Child falls down on ground, bruises knee. Do we say, just be stronger? It's interesting. 50% of us are less likely than any other demographic to receive treatment. 50%. That's the next slide. Yeah. And then the next one is 10. The next one to me is alarming. 10% of black men, 10%, 1 in 10, are living with depression. Like real depression. And they're saying to themselves, I must not be strong enough. And the next one is 6. And this speaks directly to what we heard about earlier. Brahim talked about his friend who was saying to him, I'm having some issues up here in my mind, and I'm thinking that I'm about to take my life. And he said, I don't really know. I don't have the tools to deal with it. And he did. 6% of us die by suicide. Like, these numbers should concern us. Right? And I have other numbers here. Black women are the least to be married in the world. Black women outmarry the least. Black men have more extramarital affairs. Black couples have the highest divorce rates. Black women are most likely to abort their children. Black people, more than any other group in the world, get lower pay for the same jobs. Black people are the least likely to seek therapy. Like, these are alarming trends. Let me ask a question, show of hands. How many of us would say we're satisfied right now with our mental health? I get no hands. Thank you for being honest. How many would say that we're not satisfied with our mental health? That's interesting, because I saw no hands for the first question and like 9 hands for the second. How many of us don't know? How many of us are not really sure? Yeah. That's a big thing, right? We don't really know. We're not really that sure. So hopefully some of the things that we talked about today will get us to a place where we can start thinking seriously about where we are at. Okay, how many of us would like to sort of make some changes at this point? Where are we? Raise your hands if you'd maybe like to make some. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. We got some. Yeah, sure, maybe, sort of. We can maybe address some things. Does anybody know how to make some changes? Does anybody know how? Like maybe some things that they could do. Example. Give me an idea of what you can do. Accepting the situation. Seek for counseling. Okay, so we got two ideas here on how we can begin to make some changes concerning our mental health. We can seek for counseling as well as accept, right? So those are definitely some great ideas. Those are two great ideas, and there are other great ideas. I'm sure that we are also doing our own things within our own lives that we can sort of affect change with, build self-awareness, build confidence, all that kind of stuff, right? So there are many barriers then to seeking help as well as to finding the help that we need. And, we're not going to go through all of them, but when we've polled people within our community as to why it is they do not access services that can help them attend to their mental health, the number one reason is Jesus will fix it. I'll just pray about it. Right? We have payout, we have pride, we have privacy. So what's in it for me? We have pride. What are other people going to think? We have privacy. We don't want to let anybody know what's going on. What happens in the home stays in the home. We have power structures, right? There's lack of access. It's not affordable. It's not in my neighborhood. We have production. It's made for white people. It's by white people. I don't want to go talk to white people about my problems. But the number one, so there's all those things that are preventing us. But the number one is Jesus will fix it, and I'll just pray about it, right? And this is problematic for us. It's problematic for us because it's not working. We have issues that we definitely want to attend to. And we're committed. We're hardcore committed. We're committed to our routines. We're committed to, going to work, praying, going to church, coming home, until it gets to like crisis mode where we just can't cope anymore. We can't do it anymore. We feel like we want to give up, want to throw in the towel. And that's where we come to the place where we're like, oh my gosh, I need help. But we don't want to get to that place. We want to maintain healthy levels of mental health, right? So that we don't get to the place where we are in crisis. And one of the things, I don't know if you can scroll ahead to the quotation, but what we want to do is we want to experience that abundant life. And Albert Einstein offers us some wisdoms here. He says, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that we used when we created our problems. Okay? So that implies that we need something new, right? And I agree with him. How many of us agree with that? Sort of? 1, 2, 3 of us? So some of you guys think that you can solve your problems with the same thinking and behaviors that, no? Yeah? No? Raise your hand if you believe that. Is anybody listening? Anybody here with me? Okay, we got some folks. Yeah, we need to change our thinking. We need to change the ways that we think about things. Okay?